This is by far the best magic trick, the best performance I have ever pulled off in my entire magic career. And the funny thing about it is it wasn't planned and it was never practiced. This isn't necessarily a tutorial. You guys will learn how the trick was done, obviously, but it's kind of hard to replicate, and I'll explain why. I was a senior in high school, and it was really at the point in my career when I really started taking magic seriously. I had some gigs, I was making some money doing it. It really had become more than a hobby. My repertoire of tricks was not that deep, but sometimes you need to be challenged in order to improve, and for me, that challenge was study hall. I was telling the story to someone, and they didn't know what a study hall was, so I know most of you know what a study hall is, but those of you who don't, it's a period during the school day where you don't have a class, you just have a classroom you go and sit in, and you can go do your work, you can chill, listen to music, do whatever you want to do. It's just an empty period in your class schedule. So I had a study hall with a really awesome teacher who was supervising it. I don't want to say his name on the video because you never know, but we'll just call him Mr. W. Mr. W was one of the coolest teachers in the school. He didn't teach a class for me. He was seriously just my study hall teacher. So he sat in the front of the classroom and all the students, 20 or so students, sat in the classroom, and you could do whatever you want. Of course, as a budding magician, I used that 50-minute school period to practice magic and cardistry any chance I could get. I didn't know Mr. W that well at the start of the school year, but the thing is, if you watched my video, my first magic trick ever, you'll know that my basketball team was the first kind of group of people that saw me perform magic, and I had a teammate from my basketball team in the study hall with me. So one of the first couple days of school my senior year, my basketball teammate was like, "Yo, Mr. W, you gotta see Chandler perform magic, it's insane." So of course, I did my routine, probably about 30 minutes of magic, knocked everyone's socks off, and Mr. W was amazed. Little did I know that Mr. W loved magic so much that for the rest of the semester, he wanted to see a new magic trick every single day. Now, I've actually given tips to you guys before about performing in school because that's a little different than being a professional magician or a performer, because you have to perform to the same group of people every day. Well, not necessarily every day. You get what I'm saying? You have to bring the new heat daily. You can't be doing your ACR every single day. You can't be doing your invisible deck every single day. You have to have new material. So when Mr. W, as the year progresses, wants to see a new magic trick every day, that challenged me. Trust me. Every single night, I was in the books. Not my, physics book or math book. I was in the magic books. I was on YouTube. I was learning as much new magic as possible so that every day when I came to class, I had a brand new trick. And I'm serious when I say this. Besides Grant, Mr. W probably had one of the biggest effects on my magic skills and my magic career, because he didn't force me to. Like, I obviously could have said no, but I took it as a challenge. Like, okay, I'm gonna learn a brand new trick every day. Now, one of the most important things in magic and performing is practice. And by that I mean, when you learn a new trick, you should probably practice it for 2 or 3 weeks before you go show it to someone, so you make sure you don't mess up. Because you mess up one time in front of the group you perform for every single day, you kind of lose that credibility. That's why I like having a backup like the invisible deck, but actually at that point in my career, didn't have one. It was about 3 months into school when it happened, man. And here's the thing, I wasn't just performing for Mr. W, I was performing for almost all the students in that study hall every single day when I had that study hall. So 5 out of 7 days a week, brand new magic. And I'm sure you can see where this is leading. When you don't get that amount of practice, the chances of you messing up is quite higher. Surprisingly, it only took me 3 months to mess up, but that was actually my first time messing up in front of a group like that. Like, I had never messed up. So I built up this reputation as this amazing magician in class. And like I said, the mistakes had yet to be made. But the thing is, as lots of you magicians know, part of the plot of every single magic trick, well, not every single, but most magic tricks involves the magician messing up. So let me tell you what trick I was doing. I actually now just taught this trick on the channel. It's how to memorize a deck of playing cards or give the appearance that you are. So Mr. W came over to me on this said day, about 3 months into school. Once again, I had this amazing reputation. And this trick involves letting the spectator shuffle, okay? I had just learned the trick the night before. It seemed pretty straightforward, pretty simple. If you guys know it, it is pretty simple. So I had it stored in my brain for about 12 hours. Basically what happens is, the spectator picks the card and I allow him to shuffle the deck. And Mr. W loved magic, loved cards, loved, playing card games. So he had a great riffle shuffle. He gave the deck a great riffle shuffle, which is great. That's what the trick requires. And after he shuffled it, he was like, can I cut it? And I was like, oh, of course, you gotta cut it. So he cuts it. And I go to take the deck back. And Mr. W goes, can I shuffle it again? Now, clearly, the answer is no. For that trick, I cannot have him shuffle a deck of cards again. But I also thought the trick involves memorizing like a certain small segment of cards. So if he shuffles it one more time, what's the worst that can happen? I'll only have to memorize 3 or 4 more cards. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the tutorial and you'll see what I mean about this specific trick and the reason why he couldn't shuffle it one more time. But I let him shuffle it because honestly guys, the golden rule, if your spectator asks you to shuffle the deck, let them shuffle it. You don't want to ruin your credibility that way. It'll make it look like you have something set up, and even if you do, you don't want that to be revealed, so just let them shuffle and always have a backup plan. Once again, I didn't have said backup plan because I had learned the trick 12 hours before. I was winging it. So I let Mr. W shuffle the deck twice. Now with about 22 people watching, I spread out the cards, and at this point in time, I actually wasn't performing the trick as like a memorizing trick. I was performing it as a pulse reading trick, which is pretty lame. I probably shouldn't have done that. But I grabbed Mr. W's wrist and put my finger on his pulse, had him scan his finger over the cards, right? And I was feeling his pulse to see where his card was. Obviously, I was just trying to memorize. Now, I remember when spreading out the cards, my heart dropped. My heart absolutely dropped as I saw that my 2 key cards had about like 20 cards in between them. Like 20 cards in between them. Oh my gosh. I remember there is no way. So I'm grabbing his finger and I'm reading for the pulse and I'm trying my best to memorize 20 cards in a row. And I remember getting actually far and then I started realizing like, hey, I'm taking way too long for this. This is starting to look dumb. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna turn around and you're gonna move your 1 card to a different spot, then I'm gonna read your pulse again, I'm gonna find it. I remember I was like legitimately sweating at this point because I had never messed up in front of someone and I knew it was inevitable. I turn around and he takes his card out, puts it somewhere else. Like I said, I was really attempting to memorize these 20 cards. So when I turned back around, I had a pretty good idea of what his card was. There was 3 cards. I'm sure he was one of those 3 cards. So I know that my reputation on never messing up relies on my 1/3 chance getting this card right. It was the Queen of Spades, the King of Diamonds, and the 8 of Spades. I remember this because it was that monumental. And I forget how, because this was about, 3.5 years ago. But I had somehow figured out in my head that it was either the Queen of Spades or King of Diamonds. I remember that the King of Diamonds is Daniel Madison's favorite card, so I picked the King of Diamonds and said, and there you have it, your card, the King of Diamonds. And I saw Mr. W's face go. And all the spectators go. And that's when I knew. The first time I ever messed up in front of people. Panic immediately set in, and I knew the only way that I could save face is just say it. I messed up. I was like, I messed up. Guess that's not your card. Now here's the thing. When you've been performing magic for the same group of people over 60 times, 60 different tricks, and I would say like 50% of the tricks involve purposefully messing up. When I tell them, genuinely, hey guys, I got it wrong, I messed up, they didn't believe me. They thought there was another part of the trick. They thought there was some big reveal coming, that I just made some big mistake and the reveal is gonna be even crazier. And there wasn't one, because I genuinely messed up. So I'm talking, I'm laughing with this group of people, with Mr. W about, yeah guys, I really messed up. And they're like, we don't believe you. And they all were talking like, oh my gosh, he said he messed up, but I'm gonna find it in my shoe later. I'm gonna find it in my sandwich later. And I was like, you know what guys, don't tell me what the card was. I think I have an idea. And at this point, I'm just gonna do a mind reading and reveal that it was the Queen of Spades. That was gonna be my recovery. Because like I said, I knew it was either the King of Diamonds or Queen of Spades. So if it wasn't the King of Diamonds, it's the Queen of Spades. But as they were just laughing and we were talking and chatting, and they were talking about all the crazy places it could be, an idea sparked in my head really quick. You see, because it was a public school and everyone lives in the same vicinity, because you have to live in the same vicinity to go to a public school, I knew where Mr. W lived. And it turns out, as you guys know, there's another half to Rise Magic. So, this all happened between when I messed up the trick and when what I'm about to tell you happened within a couple minutes. It was smooth. We were talking, chatting, laughing about how I messed up, and they were all joking about how I had some big reveal coming. I pull out my phone like any high schooler would and stuff. Hello. And it was Thanksgiving break, so I texted Grant and said, yo, I messed up a magic trick. Can you go put a Queen of Spades from a blue bicycle deck into this address's mailbox? And Grant just simply replied, I got you. And I replied, let me know when it's done. Study halls are 50 minutes. I usually did the magic at the beginning of the study hall, and then people went off and did their work if they could, and then I usually did some magic at the end of the study hall. So it was the beginning of the study hall where I messed up. Everyone kind of disperses back to do their work. I text Grant, I'm like, make sure you text me as soon as it's done. Within, I would say, under 10 minutes, Grant had gotten in his car, driven to this guy's address, Mr. W's address, and dropped the Queen of Spades in his mailbox and closed it with the flag up. The students and Mr. W still didn't believe that I had actually messed up. Like, I actually messed up. I made a huge mistake. I failed in front of everyone. I should have practiced more, right? So as this study hall is ending, I'm getting up. You know, this is normally the part where I do one more trick before the study hall ends. Like I said, we've been doing this for about 3 months now. And the students are kind of like talking like, yeah, I can't believe you messed up. I've never seen you mess up before. There's got to be another part. And I was like, yeah, I guess I just really messed up. And Mr. W is looking at me and like smiling like, I know there's a part two. I said, why are you so convinced that I didn't actually make a mistake? He said, you're too good to make a mistake. And I turned to him with a big smile on my face and I said, you know what? You're right. Does that phone work? He was like, yeah. I was like, can you pick up the phone for me for a second? He was like, okay. And he's got this big grin. Everyone's got this big grin on their face. And I'm like, you know what? Call your wife. Tell her to walk outside and check the mailbox. And this man goes, Chandler, I swear, if I call my wife and there's a Queen of freaking Spades in my mailbox, I'm going home for the day. I'm quitting my job. And I was like, Mr. W, don't do that. Because trust me, you're going to want your wife to check the mailbox. So in front of the whole class, he picks up his phone, calls his wife. He says, honey, can you go check the mailbox? You know that kid in my class who does magic? He says there's something in it. And we all wait there for about a minute. And he puts the phone on speaker and she says, yeah, there's a Queen of Spades in the mailbox. And he goes, honey, I gotta go. Slams the phone and everyone loses their mind. Absolute pandemonium. So much so that as I went to my next class, kids who weren't even in that study were talking about it, asking about it. Like, I heard you put the card in Mr. W's mailbox. In fact, I remember at lunch that day, the principal of the school camp knew, was like, yo, you gotta tell me how you did that trick to Mr. W, because it was hilarious. In faculty lunch, it's all he was talking about. So, absolutely crazy trick. And to you guys, it might be like, well, it's kind of obvious that you had someone do it. But you have to keep in mind that in the moment for everyone in that classroom, the time between when I messed up and when that reveal happened was about 10 to 15 minutes. So I really, really sold the fact that I messed up. But I'm telling you, no one believed me when I was telling them that I messed up, even though I actually did. So I used that time, I used that chatter, I used that, playful conversation with everyone to devise the best reveal of all time. I remember one of the things that Mr. W was most bothered about mentally was he kept saying, how do you know where I live? How do you know where I live? You were in the classroom the whole time. Do you have a helper? Do you have someone help you? How could you even get there that quick? How'd you know it was the Queen of Spades? I don't know if that's a cool story or not, but it's one of my best moments in my magic career. I will always look on it very fondly, especially because it's actually the first time, I don't know if it's the first time, but one of the first times that Grant and I really worked together on a big magic trick. Really started something pretty cool in my opinion. I'm serious when I say if I come back to my high school for a basketball game just to watch, the basketball team because I used to play on there, or just go back to the high school to hang out, see old teachers or anything like that, someone always brings up the mailbox magic trick. Remember when you put the card in Mr. W's mailbox? So that story will live on forever, and it kind of hurts me that I'm revealing it on YouTube, but it's not even really a trick. I messed up and I thought on my feet, and Grant really helped me. Mr. W, if you're seeing this, I'm sorry to ruin the magic for you. I'm not a wizard. I'm not a demon. I just knew where you lived, and Grant was very helpful. So that's it. Alright guys, that's the video. Just a funny story of my magic career. I hope you found it entertaining. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe for more storytelling videos like this. I did one before about my first magic trick, but I did not forget today we have to announce the winners of our 50K giveaway. By the way, I must confess I made a pretty big mistake when it came to the giveaway. As you guys know, we have an online store, and the Art of Cardistry Blue, which were in the giveaway, I forgot to take down their stock on the website. So I accidentally sold the last Art of Cardistry Blue. Therefore, I don't have a sealed one to give away in the giveaway, so I'm just going to replace the Art of Cardistry Blue with the Pinball playing cards, and then the other two decks are the same. Really sorry about that if you really want the Art of Cardistry Blue and you want it. It was a really busy time of year for me with the end of school, and I just mentally forgot to take it off the website, so I'm really sorry about that, but there are still 3 decks up for grabs. As of right now, I am going to go make an Excel spreadsheet on my laptop right here. This is to make sure that all you people who followed the account and got all 3 entries, I'm gonna make sure that you get your extra entries so that it's a very fair giveaway. So it's gonna take me a little bit, probably like an hour to make this Excel spreadsheet to make sure that you guys have a fair giveaway. But once I do, I'll randomly select the winners. I'm actually gonna put the 3 winners in the description of this video rather than putting their names in this video, because winners can change based on whether or not people reply to our messages, because we wanna make sure that if no one replies to us when we say, hey, you won, we'll give them about a week and then we'll just select another one. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you're checking your YouTube notifications or your Instagram DMs, because I feel like if you had your Instagram username in the comment that got randomly selected, I'll DM you. But if you didn't, I'll just, heart the comment on YouTube and reply to you and say, hey, you won. Thank you for watching. See you next week.